Hello, so welcome to the another class of cloud computing. So today here we will continue with the platform as a service model. So previously we just had the introduction to the platform as a service and the various issues related with it. So now as we know that this PaaS or this platform as a service here provides computing platform and solution stack as a service. So mainly what it offers us is the computing platform. That means it offers us here the application design, it offers here the application development, then the application testing, and the complete deployment and hosting for this web applications or the various services which are to be provided by the cloud infrastructure. So this is basically in computing platform here delivering all these services ranging from your application design, development, testing and debugging here. Now after that we will see here that what are the various requirements of a PaaS platform. So next, we have the requirements of a PaaS platform. So the very first requirement here is high scalability and on-demand provisioning. High scalability and the on-demand provisioning here. So this is the first requirement here because what we require for a cloud infrastructure is the scalability and on-demand services. So it should provide the provisions here for on-demand services here. The very first requirement here for your PaaS platform. Second is the high availability. High availability. So that means by deploying a PaaS platform, by deploying platform as a service, application availability is guaranteed. So this here deals with the guarantee of your applications. That means application availability here is provided with the deployment of your PaaS platform here. Now, third one is the high reliability. High reliability. Now, this is a very important factor here, the reliability. That means if the request here is made, so cloud here will ensure that some service is always up or always running to receive that request. So that makes it the reliability of the cloud system that whenever a certain request is made here, some services are always running so that they're receiving those requests there. So this is the another requirement which is the high reliability. So after scalability, availability and reliability, the next factor which we have here is the optimal usage of your resources. Optimal usage. So that means the usage of resources for a particular application. So here it applies that resources, the optimum utilization of the resources for executing a particular applications. So that means this is also here an important factor. So it basically here deals with the resources which are utilized for certain applications here. After that, another factor here or another requirement here is auto scaling. Now, that means the auto scaling, the on-demand scenario could be based on a user request or in response to an increased load. That means the user is making request, or we can simply relate it like uh, the load, what is the kind of load. So that means there should be an flexibility in the scaling up or scaling down of the resources. So because of that elastic nature, it can add more resources according to the demand, or it can reduce the resources as per the requirements there. So after auto scaling, the next requirement which we have here is the multi OS, that is multi operating system and multi language support. Multi OS and multi language support here. So that means, and just take an example, that an organization might have different operating systems and applications written using different languages. That means they have here the different operating systems running in their environment and different applications written using different languages here. So this platform as a service here should enable various runtimes which can run on multiple operating systems. That means it should support a different operating system so that we could have different runtimes and different applications there. So these are the certain requirements of your platform as a service model, like your scalability and the provisioning of on-demand factor, that means on-demand services here. Then we have the high availability factor, that means by deploying a platform, your PaaS platform, application availability should be guaranteed here. Then reliability, that means certain requests are made, so always some services are running to respond to those requests or to receive those certain requests here. Then the optimal usage of resources, then scaling of the resources, and then OS operation systems and your different languages there. So these are certain requirements here associated with platform as a service. Now next we have the reference architecture, or we can say that the architecture for your custom platform as a service. So next we will see here the architecture for your platform as a service. So this platform as a service, or the architecture for this platform as a service, is basically comprised of two layers. It has a communication layer and the management layer. Now, with your communication layer. So, this communication layer for your platform as a service here is responsible for meeting the criteria like your availability, reliability, and optimization needs for the application running on the cloud. That means the communication layer here is responsible for the availability of the resources on clouds, the reliability, and the application, or we can say that the various applications running on cloud, meeting all these requirements here. Then we have the management layer here. So the management layer here will have the components and the services which provision the management capabilities. That means the various components here will be responsible for managing the various services here. So now after that we will see the reference architecture here of your platform as a service, comprising of your communication layer and the management layer here. So, like first of all, we have a virtualized infrastructure here. Then we will see here the communication layer components and like here what we will have here certain cloud hosted applications and services. Now, your communication layer here will have different number of components. Like component we have here is like your messaging. Then another component like your security. Then we have here load balancer. After that, cloud service orchestration. Cloud service orchestration. After that, we have cloud service interaction and caching. Cloud service interaction. Then caching here, and then we have virtualized machine management also here. Virtual machine management. So this is your communication layer. Then we have the management layer here also. So this is your management layer. Now management layer will here have monitoring and managing the service portal. So it basically has a service portal here. So it basically consists here of provisioning this management layer, alerts and monitoring, and then virtual image configuration. And it has virtual image configuration. So these are the various components here which are associated with your communication and the management layer here. So the very first one, this is like your communication layer, and this one here is your management layer. Now we will study these layers one after another. So first of all, we will study the management layer. So this is here your management layer. So first of all, it has a monitoring and managing service portal. It here has monitoring and service portal here. After that, it has here number of components provisioning, alert, and monitoring, and then your virtualized image configuration. So this layer here is then also dealing or connected to your communication layer here. So the very first component which we have here in our management layer is the monitoring and managing the service portal. So this is basically here a service portal. So it has a dashboard. Now this, the very first component, which is the monitoring and the management service portal. Now this basically has a dashboard for monitoring the application services. So what are the key features what you require here for this portal? So this is simply a intuitive user interface with different menus and screens for different roles. Now this is a, it has to manage the various service portals, so it requires different menus for that and different screens for different roles. So for its implementation, it requires different screens and different menus here for a simple user interface. After that, what it requires here is the application provisioning request screen. Application provisioning request screen here, and then it requires here the application events and health check screens for administration. So that means that is here certain parameters with your application checks here. So this basically is a simple user interface. So it has basically a dashboard for maintaining the various application services. So that means first of all, the service portal has all the various application request with itself. Now after that, another component here is the second one is the provisioning. So, as this complete layer provides monitoring and management capabilities to platform as a service, the management layer here is responsible for providing this monitoring and managing capability to the complete platform as a service here. Now we have here the second component, which is the provisioning. So what happens here? This component provisions the application services based on the demand or the request made through portals. That means the requests are here made to the portal, and then it will here provision for the requests for those on demand services. Now That's why it's called as a provisioning component, because it has to provision the various application services here. Now, this provisioning component here can be coupled with various virtual machine provisioning engine to facilitate or to create a integrated provisioning component here. That means the requests are like made here through the other interface. So it could be an provisioning integrated component here. So this is here basically responsible for the provisioning of the applications which for which the requests are made through this service portal here. Then we have alert and monitoring. Now this alert and monitoring, this component specifically monitors here the executions of the applications and alerts the stakeholders for any failure. So this is here simply responsible for monitoring and then alerting the above authorities in case of any failures. But here you also require certain key features for this implementation of this component. Now this should be here able to send email alerts and online messages to the dashboard in the event of the failure of any applications. Like if certain application is failed, so it should be here able to send the email alerts and the online messages here. Now next we have the image configuration. Now this virtual image configuration port here should be initially with the infrastructure as a service, but here we have it as a defined standard. That means for the virtual machine images for the cloud. That means this component is the one here responsible for having the virtualized images for your cloud. So that means it is storing here these virtualized images. So for the implementation of this component here, a reliable cloud store should be provided that store all the application images. That means here for this portal, for this component, you require a reliable storage platform to store those application images. Secondly, it should have the provision to create new images and map them to the VM profile. Now, this component here is like related to this virtualized infrastructure because it is responsible for storing the various images and then mapping them to the virtual machine profile here. So this management layer has the certain components which are responsible for managing the complete platform as a service. That means it is managing here the various requests which are made, then the provisioning for the request, then monitoring the various applications and alerting in case of any failure, and then the virtualized image configuration. So this is about your management layer. We'll study about the communication layer in our upcoming classes. So this is all here for today's class. Thank you so much.